Okay, this is the Ask Me Anything Part 3. And we've got a list of questions here from Cryptobajaria and Jonas. And I think these are probably some pretty juicy. I think there's going to be some appetite to hear answers on these. I changed the order of his questions a little bit. I put the first one there for a reason, which is what do you think the all-time high for Millix or Wrap Millix will be? I put it first because it requires the longest disclaimer. So I have to be very careful about how I talk about Millix, so that legally I'm not crossing a line and entering into the world of securities. So I've always considered Millix to be a utility token and not a security, and we've been careful for years in internal communications, external communications, design, implementation, launch. We've always been mindful not to cross that line. So, I am also not qualified to give financial advice. So I will tell you how I would think about that question with some numbers. But before I do that, investors, if you want investors, people have approached me for quite a while, not just about Tangled, but for say 10 years, maybe 8 years, that they want to put their money into whatever I'm working on. They want to invest in whatever project I'm working on. And I resist that because it makes me anxious. So, like, for example, if somebody said that they want to invest in Tangled or Tangled Social or just Tangled as a whole, I would be worried that they're excited about some aspect of it, but that excitement will wear off and they'll want to generate revenue or go down a path that I think has short-term benefit but doesn't match my long-term goal. And those are conversations that I don't really want to be a part of. So when those people approach me, I tell them in as careful of a way as I can that I think that owning Millix directly is the best way to get exposure to all the projects that are built using Millix. So I'd keep that in mind when I answer this question. So he says, you are experienced in the field. What do you think the all-time high for Millix will be? I would think about that in terms of what industries and individual companies or projects it could disrupt or take user share away from. Okay, so I think about it. I got 6 things, six bullets on this. First, the easiest one is, and he said all-time high. So you have to imagine that for that to happen, it's got to be a good environment in general for crypto. So you go to CoinMarketCap and you look at the projects that are listed there, and you see which ones you recognize, and you make a determination for yourself how useful they are, as opposed to just how speculative they are. And then you consider that Millix has about 30,000 holders or users around the world. So, I'd put that at probably a billion. Now, the market cap of Millix right now is not liquid, but it is call it 4.6 billion. I'd say well, what I just said about, it stacks up well against other high value coins. Okay, I would say that looking at data storage on the DAG and NFTs combined with a digital marketplace on Tangled Social to buy and sell NFTs, I'd say that the upside for that could be $1 billion on the market cap. If you think about the Tangled browser and the decentralized ad platform, the easiest thing to look at is the Brave and the BAT token. So you'd take some percentage away from that, and there's no timeline on this, right? So it's you could call that $1 billion, $500 million or $1 billion. Now the numbers start to get bigger. Okay. So you take all the advertising spend around the world. So over time, again, there's no timeline, but if you just have 1% of global advertising budgets happening using Millix and Tangled Social, etc., it's an $800 billion annual spend. So if you take 1% of that, you're $8 billion. Okay. Social media is crazy. So take some percentage of the market cap of Facebook, Snap, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit. Those combine up around 1.8 trillion. Okay. Take 5% of that. Take 5% of that, it's 90 billion. Then you go to cloud computing. So if you've got the Tangled browser, if you have a large user base of Tangled browser, you have access to idle computing power. Now you can start to decentralize data storage and computing processing, right? That's a $400 billion revenue a year. Take 1% of that, you're $4 billion. Right? Now you take all those things, and then you also consider those things that I just mentioned. That's just what I'm building, right? We have no idea. Millix is open source. We have no idea what other people are going to build on a novel cryptocurrency that operates at very high scale, very high speed with data storage. But what I just mentioned would get you around $100 billion. Okay. Okay. The Wrap Millix application for CoinMarketCap listing has been out for a while. Is there any news updates? Yeah. The reason that we did the Millix bridge was because we started to have, and first of all, let me say that I'm not on the board of directors for the Millix Foundation, and the Millix Foundation is having all the conversations with exchanges to get listed. So those conversations started, say in September or October of last year, but they were all pretty short conversations because they want to list ERC20 tokens because they don't have to do any work for that, right? So it's a real hard conversation to ask them to do 6 months of development work to support all the specific things about Millix, and with no track record of trade volume or liquidity or demand. So that's a tough sell. So Wrap Millix was launched to make those conversations easier, and those conversations are happening. So there are conversations with 3 of the top 10 exchanges going on right now, and generally speaking, I'm not involved in those conversations. My only involvement is if they want to get information about or have a conversation with either the market maker, which I have been since the launch, the market maker on Millix.com, or the largest holder. So then at that point I have to get in those conversations. But otherwise I'm not. That is the Millix Foundation, not me. Okay, is there any update on the Polygon Millix bridge? Yeah, that's an attractive thing. The fees. So right now you can mint Millix into Wrap Millix and then send it onto the ERC20 network, and then there are liquidity pools on Uniswap. No one's really using that at the moment, and I think part of the reason is the fees for the Ethereum network and the smart contracts are outrageous. So Polygon is something that doesn't require much work on our side, and it cuts those fees tremendously. The issue that we had with Polygon was, so Ericsson was working on the smart contract and the bridge to handle Polygon. In the middle of him doing that, they implemented an upgraded bridge called FX Portal, and so now all new listings have to be done on that instead of the previous platform. So Ericsson has to start over and submit that and get approval for that. So no big technical problem. Probably not a huge delay, but there was a step back on that. Okay, have you ever thought about adding a feature on Tangled Social that allows people to advertise your content or group to reach new users? Yes. I think that if you go to the documentation for Tangled Social, you will see something on the wire diagrams that I did on the right column called boosted content. The idea about boosted content is that you create a post, you create content, and then you allocate some budget to promote that content. And when you do that, it shows up in the list of boosted content, and the user, the audience, they can scroll through that, and every one of those items that they open, a payment from your budget is going to come out and go to the person that just viewed your content. Okay, so that's one thing. We've also talked about being able, as a group, as an owner of a group, being able to configure an auto payment when someone subscribes. And that, you know, whenever we're these ideas, they always turn into internal conversations about, yeah, but what about fraud? So that slows us down a little bit. But yeah, the Tangled Social is built on the idea that you can promote your content to reach new users and run that as a business. So we'll keep adding to that. Okay, what do you expect for 2023, and what are the goals set for this year? It's a weird year for me, because I started. You could say that I started building Millix.com and Tangled Social I started in 2016. That's when I started making components. We launched it first as a redo of Bitcoin wallet, but those same components are being reused. So for 7 years, I've been doing nothing but building. And in 2023, I'm more focused on user growth, audience growth, content growth, getting content creators, getting YouTubers and influencers to pay attention to Millix and Tangled and start to bring some of their audience from those other platforms to Tangled Social. So it's a transition for me personally, but that's what we're focused. I'm focused on adoption growth in 2023, and I think that so Tangled Social now has, I think, 20,000 registered users in the first 2 months. There's a kick point that I'm waiting for, where a friend tells a friend, and then they tell a friend. You know, it's Metcalfe's law. I'm expecting an exponential growth. So we're adding about 1% a day compounded right now. I'd like to end the year with no fewer than 1 million users. Okay. And getting to 1 million users is going to require that we launch and prioritize different features to handle the content in the different languages, and moderation, that type of stuff. So that we'll be focused on that, but my goal is for growth. Okay, so I will be on to the next video, and I'll see you guys there.